We've just arrived at Srebrenica, the memorial site, and behind us you can see many graves, or the final resting place of those that were massacred here by the Serbs. It's quite a disturbing and harrowing place to visit. And behind us there is the UN enclave where the Dutch soldiers were. And these buildings were where many people were housed before the massacre.
Planning this since February. I've always wanted to come since obviously the headlight tragedy, just to get that opportunity. And sure, we've never had that. It's quite taken aback by looking at the pictures down in the museum. This is the mass graves that were discovered, and then the subsequent burials were mostly done in 2002 after they exhumed the bodies. Yeah. Quite a lot. I think close to 6,500, 8,500 got killed, massacred in the genocide, and then close to 6,500 are buried in this site.
In July 1995, the UN enclave at the back, which housed many Muslims, Bosnian Muslims, was overrun by the Serbs, who took it over. The UN soldiers really stood by, and the Serbs walked in, and what they did was, first thing they did was separated men and boys from the women. So anyone from the ages of 13 plus was separated, and in some cases younger boys were separated, and so the boys and the men were taken to sometimes they were taken to some of the buildings behind here and executed, but most of them were really shipped into buses and taken to mass execution sites. And the women were separated, and we hear of many cases where women were again raped, tortured. There was a lot of atrocities that were committed, and these atrocities, some of them were eye accounts by the Dutch UN soldiers. I mean, one of the harrowing things that I read was, a young boy was asked to rape his young sister, and when he didn't, he was executed. Another story I read was a 10-year-old boy who was sitting next to his mother, was asked to lie on the lap of his mother, and while he was lying there, his head was cut off by one of the Serb soldiers. But countless atrocities, countless rapes of women happened there. And what's shocking is this all happened under the noses and the watchful eyes of the UN Dutch soldiers, who couldn't do anything, and there's many accounts of them witnessing what happened. But honestly, it was, someone described this. We spoke to a Bosnian gentleman a few days ago, and he described what happened in Bosnia as Qiyamah. It was like Armageddon. And honestly, being here and seeing those buildings and seeing where people were kept and where they were housed and where they went through so much pain, so much atrocity, rape, mutilation. Many people tried committing suicide and committed suicide to spare the punishment of being raped. There was stories about how some of the soldiers would chop off noses, ears of their victims, and so it was just, it's hard to imagine that was 23 years ago in 1995, and it looks very peaceful at this time, yeah, but it was a death camp basically. That's no other way to describe it. It's a death camp. And behind us now we have some of their victims buried here. What they've tried to do in the recent times is they've exhumed the bodies and they've laid them to rest down there. And most of the people that were executed were put into mass graves. So what you can see here are the names of the victims. The majority of these names are Muslims. You can see the graves at the back. They've all got permanent markings, and these have been exhumed and identified and been buried now. But something, you saying something about these?
Literally just come across, and these are new graves with temporary posts up here. And obviously these bodies have just recently been exhumed and found and identified with DNA analysis, and they've been buried, and obviously be a bit of time before they arrange the permanent markers, the gravestones, to be placed here. But it shows you the bodies are still getting found. There's still mass graves.
Constant reminder.
Places that are uncovered, yeah, still undiscovered.
Constant reminder.
Yeah.
So how do you guys
Living
feel? I mean, you know, we've heard about these stories for many years, but finally being here, what
I think
kind of
it brings
emotions are
it
you guys
home
with?
when you come here. The reality is in front of your face, so it's hard to ignore. Whereas see when you see it on a TV or hear about it on a radio or see it in a picture in a newspaper, it's nothing. You see when you're here and amongst all these graves, the reality of it really hits you hard. That's what the sign says, is ... because those 3 dots means it's not finished.
Yes, that's correct.
You see, so this is what we have to understand is
What we have here is
ongoing.
what we created here is a wuzu area, toilet facilities, and it's an open air masjid, just as you see. There's seating for area for people to sit down and do their du'as. They have created this, you know. I know the lady, a lot of the women that still come here, the memories are still vivid. And you see,
Family still visit.
Family still here. There's an elderly lady that was still seen her crying. You know, so there was those memories. So everything that happened are still very vivid in there, and they're having to live that throughout their lives. You know,
and I think for us it's a reminder.
Yeah.
Something so close has happened.
You've seen kids' graves here. You've seen children. You've seen a 20-year-old boy. You know, a young boy, 20-year-old. But you've seen a lot more.
Distressing.
We've seen a doll there with a slit face. It was left as a mark in one of the mass graves that we were in.
A message.
It was a message basically that was to frighten off everybody. Plus the stories, the testimonies that we were hearing from the Dutch soldiers that we heard, that they were taking the kids, slitting their throats and you know, and they're cutting them out. So there's a lot that's going on.